veterans of the Red Lagoon, to those gathered at the Circle Perilous, and to all defenders of this broken land, welcome to episode 20 of Arakko Public Radio for the week of December 28th. We are the Casual X-Men Chat Show, where we chat everything happening in Marvel's Mutants every single week. I'm Rod, and this is the man whose New Year's resolution is 4K, my one and only Comega Mutant Keegan. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. New year, same me. How you doing?
I'm all right. As of now, New Year, same me. But since we recorded our last episode, I did find out I'm having twins in July. So
Yes, congratulations, first of all, of
expect
course.
maybe a decrease in my energy level come the summer episodes. We'll see.
Yeah.
This week, we are talking about New Mutants 33, X-Terminators number 4, and going into the Dark Web with Dark Web X-Men number 2 and a little bit of Amazing Spider-Man 16 and Venom number 14. But first, this is the New Year's episode. So I want to look back. The best of 2022, the worst of 2022. It's a year that started with the final issue of Inferno. That came out the first week of 2022. So you can call that a 2022 crossover. Then we survived X Lives and Deaths of Wolverine. We saw the launch of the Destiny of X books and two of the most awarded Book of the Year contenders out of everything were X books launched that month. We careened into Axe Judgment Day, and then we finished with Dark Web and the builds to Sinister. It was a stacked mutant year when you look at it like in the broad view like that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Inferno literally wrapped up this year.
I didn't until I went to make this list. I was like, oh, that was this year. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's the broad view. I want to narrow things down a little. What did you love? What did you hate?
That's fair. So love, obviously Red, Immortal, and Legion of X. We talk about it literally every month how much we love these books. And also, like, I have to say it because I can't stop talking about it. X-Terminators.
Yes.
I loved X-Terminators.
Which we get to gush on a little later, but yeah, that was the sneaker hit of the year, I feel like. Mm-hmm. Like, had you told me at the beginning of the year, hey, you're going to love the book Kieran Gillen's putting out, you're going to love the book Cy Spurrier's putting out, and you're going to love the book Al Ewing's going to put out, wouldn't necessarily be surprised. If you told me, hey, there's going to be like a Gal Pal adventure book that's probably going to be your sneak favorite, I would not have necessarily jumped on board.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even thought that, like, this team, like, if you had told me, you know, Dazzler, Jubilee, Boom Boom, and Laura Kinney, like, okay, weird, but I'll take it. And now I look forward to it. And then the hate, obviously, obviously it's the Percy books.
Yeah, you can't avoid it.
I'll say this. The Benjamin Percy books are not the worst books that I've read this year. They're just the worst X books that I've read this year.
Well, and we do, because of Dark Web, we get to talk about what I would argue probably is my least favorite superhero book of the year, because Amazing Spider-Man has been a garbage fire. Yeah, I do really dislike the Percy stuff. I will say I'm enjoying what Percy's doing now more than I enjoyed X Lives and Deaths, at least. Like, X Lives and Deaths might be my least favorite mutant thing for the year. Giving Percy a little break, I will also say Orlando's Marauders, which we've definitely talked about on here, is also a real slog for me.
You know what? That's a good point. I was kind of forgetting certain things. I will say, I think more than Percy's books, I really hate Chris Claremont's Gambit.
Okay. Yeah, if we're leaving the Krakoa stuff to the side,
like
a lot of Claremont stuff was bad.
Yeah. If we're going to all mutant things and not just Krakoa, I'd say that Gambit is worse than the Percy books, but
we're going there. We have to also bring in that weird Patch miniseries they did. Instead of giving us a Laura Kinney book mid-year, we got a second Wolverine book that was Patch. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I can go back on positives real quick.
Yes.
So yes, the three biggies, obviously. On our sister crossover comic show, I'm going to give my top 10 book or top 5 books of the year, and I will tell you both Red and Immortal make that list, and Legion is just outside. Like
Yeah.
any other era, I feel like Legion would be the best X book, and yet it's been outclassed by these two masterworks that I still can't believe launched the same month. Like they revived what seemed like was going to die when Hickman left. Like, I think if we're talking about events, like thing that happened that was the biggest deal in the Mutants, I would say it's Destiny of X proving that Krakoa can exist without Hickman. I think they've proven it can thrive without him.
Mm-hmm. I think what's really impressive, what they have done with this Destiny of X thing, is have essentially said, like, no, we don't have to put the toys away because Hickman built us a new toy box.
Yeah. And I'm so excited that Fall of X isn't them throwing away the new toy box like we were a little afraid it might be, and it's starting to look less and less like that's what they're doing. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sabretooth, both Sabretooth related minis, huge thumbs up to them. This year's Hellfire Gala special was great.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that came out this year that was tons of fun, and we've been here for half of it, and we got to talk a ton about each thing. I do feel like Legion of X needs some kind of like special award ribbon of like, you would have been the all-star if you weren't on a team of real all-stars. Like,
it's the any other year he's the other guy, you know.
Yep.
It's like you are so good, yet you are overshadowed by two of like the greatest.
So something that I did was I hit up everyone who's been a guest this year on the show and gave them a chance to send in a video about their best or worst. And I don't know if they're going to stick with best worst books or best worst things to happen in the Mutants, but hopefully right here we'll take a quick pause and I'll insert those while I'm editing, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about this week's books.
Sounds good to me.
Hey, Arakko Public Radio, my name is Uncanny Ken, and my favorite X thing that happened this year was Vita Ayala's Limbo arc. I love the character work that Vita did for Madeline, but specifically I want to talk about Magic, as it kind of felt like a follow-up to Claremont's Magic series. This definitely was a long time coming for Ileana denouncing that whole part of her life, but I think Vita handled it very well, and I'm excited to see where they take Magic in the future.
New Mutants 33, written by Charlie Jane Anders and drawn by Alberto Alburuerque. As we saw at the end of last issue, Morgan and Escapade are standing in the exact spot where Destiny's vision from this year's Pride issue happens. Escapade saw Morgan die here. They're still on the run from the U-Men, but also resolved to beat fate and not let anything happen to him. That was the whole reason she came to Krakoa to train, right? Meanwhile, Leo and Sarabella decide that the best course of action is just to fight the U-Men rather than keep hiding from them, so they go to town. Of course, that's right when Sarabella and Escapade switch bodies back. Wolfsbane fights Sublime, unleashing her awesome ability to turn into an entire pack of wolves. Sarabella hears and comes to help out. Escapade and Leo continue fighting the U-Men when Sublime shows up, takes Escapade hostage. Morgan thwarts Sublime's plan by turning his supply of kick into chocolate pudding, though Sublime still manages to escape with Escapade onto the roof. We see the vision play out, except Escapade is thrown in Morgan's place and chooses not to switch bodies with him, which saves him. Then Leo catches her, and the kids head home, where Escapade confronts Destiny and the worst drawn Emma Frost of all time. Who quote Yoda about the future in flux always is. That was a terrible Yoda impression, but you get the point. Terrible Emma. Terrible Emma.
Like, I feel like... So I've been complaining about the art of this book for a while now.
I've been defending the art of this book for a while.
You've been defending it, and in the moment when I turned to the page and I saw that Emma, the vindication that swept through my body.
I didn't even dislike the rest of the art this issue, but that one shot of Emma looking nothing like Emma, looking like a chibi 12-year-old girl. I don't even know what to describe it as.
It was genuinely like,
horrifying.
Like, this is not Emma Frost.
Yeah, it was awful. I'm still digging what Anders is writing here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun exploration of this kind of new cast of characters. I'm bummed that it's the end of this run. Like when you look at what Hickman did, what Ed Brisson did, and what Vita did, it all felt more substantial than this arc. And there was nothing, because this heads into the Lethal Legion miniseries, it didn't feel final, and there was like no ceremonial reference to this being the end of the volume.
It weirds me out that the run ends on a guest arc.
A guest arc that's just a prologue for a mini. It just it feels off to me.
Yeah, something about it just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't jive with me. The story is fine enough. I want more of these characters in this moment.
It's also weird to me. I thought when Sublime was the villain here and Sublime is the villain over in Marauders, that they'd intersect.
You would think.
There was no connections made at all.
Not at all.
I also, though, if you do the mental math, that 5 issues mini will end just in time for the end of Fall of X.
Oh.
So, I mean, assuming we get another, that is when whatever is the next after Destiny of X. I had been saying after Sins of Sinister probably, and we're not getting the next wave. So now presumably after Fall of X is when we get whatever it is.
Yeah.
Future of X, like the next status quo presumably. And I bet you we get a New Mutants. I don't see New Mutants as a book that we're not going to have for very long. So I could see that being the first in the slate of new number ones.
Yeah. No, especially, I mean, just because of the world we live in now and how important representation is, to have that arrow in the quiver of New Mutants and not use it, it's just, you gotta.
Really, really, really dig Wolfsbane doing the like Pack of Wolves thing.
Yeah, that
apparently
was
cool. She got that power in X-Men Blue, which I admit I have not read. So it's not like it wasn't a new thing here, but that was my first time seeing it, and that was perfection.
Yeah, I mean, new to me, and it was really cool.
In the Pride issue and in the first issue of the guest arc, the gimmick is they're convincing Escapade, who doesn't really buy into the Krakoa thing, come to Krakoa, perfect your powers, because that's how you can defy fate, right? Like that's kind of was the gimmick of this arc.
Mm-hmm.
I love that in the end, the way she saved him was just by not using her powers. By choosing to not use them is how she saved him.
Yeah, I thought that was a good kind of twist on the setup.
I could see how it could be seen as like a cheap answer to it, but I loved it. I thought that was really, really slick.
Yeah, I think it was nice. And also just like, you can't control everything. Sometimes you gotta just have faith in other people that things will go the way they need to go.
Absolutely, 100%. Making anything organic into chocolate. Is that the best power ever or the worst power ever?
Well, I know that them and Soft Serve could open up a great store.
You went there before I got a chance, but yes.
I was just like, I'm just gonna get there. Like, let's have them and Soft Serve do something.
I would dig that. I would dig that a lot.
It is a power that if you said it out loud to me, I would not be able to see the utility in. Yet they showed the utility in this issue, so I was like, okay. I mean, yeah, it's a good power.
Well, and I feel like that's something that I would love to see Cy Spurrier get his hands on the character, because we talked about how he's able to play off the humor of Forget Me Not and like he's able to like make those jokes play out in a way that builds, and I feel like he'd be able to really build the like he keeps stumbling into opportunities where making chocolate happens to save the day. So I think he needs to land in Legion at some point. Now that we have New Mutants kind of wrapping up, let's send that character. Let's send Morgan to Legion for a while.
I'd love to see it, just to see where they go with it.
I don't have like a ton to say about this issue. It's interesting to see Destiny and Emma Frost working together so much. Because we were just talking about how Inferno happened to be this year, going back to Inferno, it was interesting to kind of remind myself that before Judgment Day happened, Emma made like a big power play, and we haven't really seen all of the payoff of that. Like she's kind of the shadow queen. She's secretly the one in charge of the council.
I mean, is her power play gonna come in to Fall of X? That's probably what it is.
I think it will, and I think it's interesting that we've got kind of. So we're gonna talk about it in the next week, but she's showing up in Captain America. Then we know she's showing up in Iron Man a lot. So I think 2023 is going to be a big Emma Frost year.
If 2022 is the year of Magneto, which it is, then 23, yeah.
Well, and 2022 is also the year of Destiny, hence Destiny of X. So it would be interesting if whatever the next status quo is Emma related. I don't know what you call that. The Frost of X, the freezing of X. I found that interesting that they kind of were so casually working together in the whole getting escapade going thing, because I don't know, things seem tense between them in other places. So,
although I do like that there's kind of this consistency of when it just comes to the kids, they will kind of have some camaraderie to it.
Yeah, or
even just like the younger mutants.
Oh no, they come across like those two ants at like big family get-togethers. That you go get your ants the pie. Come on, we're just sitting here chatting. Get us the pie, like that sort of.
That's totally the vibe. Oh, I love that.
All right, do you have anything else or Exterminators?
I say it's Exterminators time.
Exterminators time. You never have to convince me to go for instance. Written by Leah Williams, drawn by Carlos Gomez. Last issue ended with the reveal that they were trapped on the collector's barge. This opens with them trapped in Alex's private aquarium wearing ridiculous costumes. He chastises them for moving racks of clothes to kind of hide the toilets from view. So Laura calls him out for wanting to watch them pee. Boom Boom calls him a piss boy, and Jubilee joins in. Dazzler has a more serious confrontation, promises she's gonna kick his ass. We find out that he was kicked out of the Vampire Nation for being a eugenicist. Why are there so many X books that have eugenicists in them right now? He promises they'll never escape without the quantum gauntlets to fold space and time. But they use Boom Boom's powers to drop bombs down the toilet and wreck the plumbing for the entire ship. So the Collector opens an airlock to drain them all out. Luckily, Laura remembers her way around the ship, leads them to a portal. They make it back to Krakoa, leaving a time bomb so that they can't be followed, and interrupt a Krakoan baseball game. They are immediately arrested, taken before the Quiet Council, where Dracula wants to punish them for killing vampires. Luckily, Dazzler points out that the vampires were all traitors, and technically, Dracula owes them the favor now. And instead of the financial reward he offers, she just wants dibs. Dibs on Alex. So the issue ends with the gang showing up on skates to confront him, which basically sets up the entire last issue to be like one long beatdown, which perfect for this book.
Yeah.
So the piss baby scene is 100% like a last minute contender for scene of the year.
I was dying. It was so funny. Just all of them piling on. I love that they were able to do that scene.
So the delivery of them confronting, hilarious. Like I wish I'd written down some of the exact lines, but yeah, literally call him piss baby, call him piss boy, like completely call him out for it. It builds every issue of this story, how much it's about like women suffering under this like controlling male gaze thing, right? And like, so it starts out with just like him running the bar and builds to them being put in the maze and being a spectacle, and like literally builds to the point where he's just watching them pee in a literal aquarium. I think that's really, really ingenious of Leah Williams to be able to make a joke out of that while also like pointing out how fucking creepy that is.
Absolutely.
Like, it literally, the aquarium exists literally just as like a plaything for Alex to watch.
Yeah, it's
Insanely disgusting.
It's creepy, it's gross, but it was used really effectively.
Had some great moments, but my absolute favorite was the Logan Laura conversation. So they show up to like arrest them because Dracula wants his political, like, throw his political weight around, and Logan was like, "Hey kid, it's gonna be better if you come along. Like, just come with me." And Laura points out, like, I could literally kill everyone on this field in I don't remember the time frame she gives, like in less than a minute or less than 5 minutes or something. And Logan just kind of looks at her and goes, "I know, kiddo, I know." And that's all he has to say. And then they go peacefully and they have the confrontation with the Quiet Council. But I loved that exchange between the Wolverines.
Yeah, that was it was nice, just like kind of a nice. I don't want to say wholesome because of just the whole context of it, but it was kind of like a wholesome moment.
I think wholesome fits. It was wholesome for what the Wolverines are. For sure.
That's very true. Like, given who their family is.
That was the family snicked version of wholesome.
Absolutely. Also, I love like the explanation. I've been wondering the explanation for their costumes, and we got it.
Yeah, we've been asking every issue, and it's literally.
I was like, why are they in these specific costumes for all of the trial? And that's why.
We've been talking about what a shithead Xavier is. Like, what a shithead move to not let them go change their outfits, to not give them the benefit of the doubt, to literally take Dracula at his word and be like, "All right, you're on trial, ladies.
Right?
Right now. You've been here less than a minute. You're going to come explain yourselves." And actually, I don't know if, even after hearing the story, it kind of feels like if Dazzler hadn't outwitted Dracula, they might have handed them over. Like, it didn't really feel like the council was on their side as much as they should have been for
not
the
at
story they
all,
were just
really.
told. Since I know it bothered you even more than me, we got a little bit of makeup for how bad Emma was drawn in the other book. She looked awesome here.
It was great in this book. I mean, the art in this book is incredible to begin with. Like, I really love the style of this whole series. But yeah, Emma was fantastic in this.
Emma as like a baseball spectator was awesome. I loved her reaction to, like, "Oh, you're gonna cause all this ruckus for a pickup game." And Dazzler's like, "It's great to be back, Emma."
Yeah.
The dialogue in this book is like peak level greatness.
I also like. I was half expecting when they showed up at this pickup baseball game for it to become kind of like the Twilight baseball scene. Like, I was kind of half expecting that.
We didn't really see the baseball play out. I imagine it would have been if we'd seen much game play out.
Yeah, so if we wanted to make X-Terminators issue 4.5, there's your idea. Just the baseball game.
Yeah. Hey, Leah, we need more. Why don't you do an entire sequel miniseries about the game? Right. Even like Rogue and Gambit, like, squirting each other with the juice box and be like, "I brought it for the players." Like, clearly, this is a league they have set up. Like, we could have an entire book just about the pickup baseball league. I would read that.
I really would. Like, very legitimately would read it.
The interaction between Bay and Doug, who I feel like post X of Swords we have not gotten enough of, was adorable, and her understanding of baseball is about on par with my understanding of baseball, so that was wonderful.
Yeah, all the interactions here were fun. Like, all these side interactions that we get, just like a panel or two of, very fun. Like Leah Williams really demonstrates a really good understanding of all of the relationships.
So post X Factor, we got Trial of Magneto, which was really the last arc of X Factor that she was forced to change around.
Mm-hmm.
Was this the next? Is this it for 2022 for her? Is this the only X thing we've gotten from her this year?
That's a great question. No, Trial of Magneto and then X-Terminators, it looks like, really.
Yeah. She is. I forgot she is taking over kind of the B story, the Power Girl story in Action Comics, which she will excel at. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm okay with her not having much involvement with the X Office right now.
Yeah, I want more, like, her understanding of just the mutants of Krakoa. It's
Completely.
so much fun. Like, you know, the beginning of this podcast was me screaming about how much I love X Factor.
Well, and X Factor is I forgot we did. That was the very first episode that made it to air, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely underrated, and I feel like overhated. I people talk a lot of smack about Trial of Magneto, but you compare X Factor, like the actual series, to Trial of Magneto, and it's really obvious. It's not on her. Like
Right.
something changed in the editorial edict between those two books because she was writing the same characters that she wrote amazing in X Factor. It can't have been completely her fumbling the ball.
Honestly, it might have been the Magneto of it all, and
Yeah.
just the, hey guys, I just want you all to know that Kieran Gillen's got bigger plans for Magneto right now.
Yeah, we have to get these pieces. We have to get Magneto moved over here, and it's in your court. I know it's got nothing to do with what else you're doing, but that's where X Factor's headed.
That is your job now.
Have fun. I don't know. There's just something about this book that is so genius, and it's not just that it makes me giggle, because I'm not the kind of person that usually gives book credit just for making me giggle. So there's some magic here.
It just, I think it's, how do I say this? This makes a very strong case for X-Men can be an action comedy movie.
Which, could you imagine this adapted as like hour 20 Grindhouse style movie?
Yeah.
I want it.
Yeah, like just, this could be, as I like to call it, a 90-minute marvel of a movie. You know,
Yeah.
just 90 minutes, just, you know, laugh a minute, really good action.
Even one of these 45-minute whatever the specials on Disney Plus they're doing are.
Yeah, like the holiday special Werewolf by Night, I loved those so much.
Yeah.
I could see something like that working for this.
Do this for like a Valentine's Day special. By this Valentine's Day. Get it in production.
Get it.
Go.
Let's go.
Are you ready for me to invite you into my dark web?
I'll step into your web.
So the way I'm going to frame this is we'll do a summary of Dark Web X-Men number 2, but in the framing device of that, we kind of have to talk a little bit about Venom and Amazing Spider-Man, because even though they made the big pitch about, hey, these books don't rely on each other, they're somehow both completely filler and really rely on each other for like how these things happen.
Yeah.
Because Dark Web X-Men number 2 is written by Gerry Duggan and drawn by Rod Reis. It opens with Maddie playing with baby Cable on the beach, but watching as then the sand eats him away. She wakes on the throne of Limbo in tears. So she goes and attempts to use a Cerebro drive, which she gets in Venom 14 this week, and that's literally all Venom is mind-warped Eddie Brock going into the treehouse because he can go in without breaking her rules, which I'm so glad Gerry Duggan reminded us 12 times last issue about that rule, so it all made sense. And he collects it from Sync. The actual fight scene's pretty cool, but anyways, gets this Cerebro drive. And that's all that happens in Venom. Do you have anything to say on Venom since you are the Venom guy before?
Syncing a symbiote ability was cool as hell.
Yeah, the fight scene was awesome.
That is all I have to say about that book.
And so she's got the Cerebro drive and is attempting to get Jean's memories out of it, but can only get the literal memories, and she wants the feelings. She can't get the feelings out of this drive. So she's going to need to trick Jean and Magic into giving her the feelings, I guess. So inside, she creates this illusion of child Jean and child Magic who wake up outside this like mansion. Magic is looking for Beedor, and Jean wants to help out. Meanwhile, Cyclops has no visor, and so there's puppies magically dangling all around his head so that he has to keep his eyes closed. Havoc tries to talk to Maddie, opens up about like his personal therapy journey and that he doesn't really fit in on this current X-Men team. He's like, hey, I can come help you because I don't need to be hanging out with these X-Men. Like I don't fit in with them. I had my own thing, but now my own thing's not working out. Like let's go figure this shit out. It's actually a really cool Alex moment. Seems to genuinely want to help her get some closure. And she kind of relents that, you know what, I'll consider it, but she has to leave because she has to deal with her spell. Maddie nearly has Jean tricked into unlocking the memories, but Scott figures out what that spell is, that it's going to be fucking with Jean. So he sends out like this psychic, hey, Jean, which gives her just the nudge she needs to break free of the spell. And the issue ends with her just completely slapping the crap out of Maddie. And the promise that next issue, there's going to be some redhead on redhead violence. I like that we had 2 issues basically end with next issue's just going to be a SmackDown.
Right. Yeah.
This week.
That part's great. Sure.
I really love that single page. I immediately sent that single page to all my friends. Was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, no, that page was good. I liked that. I was like, okay, you get one.
So I have 2 mindsets right now. Because I liked this a lot better than the first issue. There wasn't that weird everyone talks like Spider-Man thing going on. We kind of just ditched half the cast, which was actually like the perfect move. We didn't need to see the mischaracterized Bobby, the mischaracterized Firestorm. Like they just had the annual that was about them. So give us these guys that it's actually about. So I liked this issue a lot better that way. I really liked the Havoc stuff. I feel like that was the most character development Havoc's gotten since Hellions, maybe even better than Hellions, but that could be my anti-Zeb Wells bias. I loved that part of the issue. The puppy stuff was great. If Cyclops does not end up adopting that puppy, I'm going to be furious.
Right.
So I actually feel like this was Duggan on for me.
Yes.
However, the fact that the Spider-Man and Venom shit just was like, it was also intermingled because there was multiple spots where the story made no sense if you had read Venom and then you read Venom, and that doesn't make sense unless you've read Spider-Man. Not okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, it's the best issue of a bad crossover.
Yeah,
that
is perfect.
Like, it's the best issue of a real bad crossover so far. Because, like, the stuff here works, but everything around it just doesn't. And therefore it kind of gets brought down by the weight of everything around it, for me at least.
It let me know that there was a gem of a good idea here. That if we hadn't had this bogged down into a giant event, I could have really enjoyed what this issue gave us.
Absolutely. This would be a great arc. But
I am glad it's pulled out so it doesn't interrupt the main X-Men book. But yes, this would have been a great piece of the main X-Men story.
Yeah. I don't think we need all of the pieces. We certainly don't need the Gold Goblin of it all.
Next week, my friend.
I guess. Yeah. I will say, I don't know. Have you seen the trailer for that movie, Megan?
Yes.
The little dancing robot girl.
Yeah.
Child magic looked too much like Megan to me, and I couldn't unsee it.
I didn't make a connection. She looks a lot like the child magic we just saw over New Mutants.
That's very
I also
true.
kind of feel like we see too much of like Ileana having to be infantilized. Like I don't know. There's something there that bugs me a little bit, but
yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely like the summer stuff. Like the stuff between Cyclops and Havoc. A+ for that, and it was neat to see Havoc make actual growth, and for Cyclops to accept it. Like for all the tension we saw build throughout X-Men, it was neat to kind of see that burn off or like get dealt with, and it seems like they're both cool with each other now.
Yeah, at least for the most part. Like I really liked that he was like, she bought into the lie about you quitting the X-Men, and he's like, well, what if it wasn't a lie,
dude? Yeah. It was handled really well, and I feel like that's the moment where things turned okay between them, because it felt like it was going to be a confrontation with Cyclops like not catching on and Alex having to explain it, but then Scott accepted it. He was like, okay.
He's like, all right, I see your point.
Yep. And well, he even apologized, right? I don't remember he apologized before or after that, but yeah, he straight up said like, yeah, it was I didn't handle it well. That was cool to see. You don't see Scott Summers admit he was wrong very often.
No, you really don't.
I stand by it. If he does not adopt that puppy, I'm going to be furious. We need to see like that puppy running around the treehouse after this arc's over.
Well, I mean, absolutely. You know, we got Nightwing and Bitewing, so we gotta have, you know, Cyclops and Biteclops. I don't know.
Wolfclops.
Yeah.
We have to get into it, and I don't know it's something we can necessarily actually answer, but it's one of those things that bugs me and I have to talk about.
Yeah.
If Cerebro does not contain like the feelings, the emotional side of memories, what does that mean for every Krakoan resurrection? If they're not able to pull out like the parts of memories that matter to people like Maddie when they resurrect you, does that mean like dudes like Nightcrawler are just not feeling things?
I have two theories. Okay. One is that the memories are not encoded, like the feelings to the memories are not encoded to DNA, but to a soul. So you have to be the soul that created the memories to get the feelings of them. That might be it.
So now we're getting into whether clone souls are the same. Because
right, exactly. Because like that clone didn't create the memory, that kind of thing. Or alternatively, much more likely, it's just wrong.
Okay. Just kind of as we're talking about it, and this isn't from my notes, so this might be stupid and I might be editing it out. Could there be some commentary here on Xavier's coldness? Because Xavier's not the one that inputs the memories, right? So like we've seen Emma can be the one like that. He's the one that stores the memories in Cerebro, but that maybe there's something to the actual circuit of the five, or in Jean or Emma actually passing on these memories that they somehow interact with the machinery of Cerebro in a way that activates the feelings.
Yeah, maybe she just doesn't know how to use Cerebro to get to that part of the database. I don't know.
Because I could totally see Xavier being clinical enough that just like the historical, this happened, then this happened, is all that matters to him.
Right.
And you've got these characters that understand the actual feelings behind moments, that they're there, but they have to be brought out by the right psychic or something. I don't know. This is all just coming to me as I'm talking about it, but I would love for it to be some kind of commentary on what a cold bastard that guy is. Because
I mean, I would love for that too, just because I am loving all of this Chuck comeuppance that we're getting lately. I'm
still sad Fall of X isn't Fall of Xavier. I thought you had something there.
I don't know when I decided that I didn't like Charles Xavier. I don't know when that happened.
I don't think I dislike him. It's very similar to the Beast of the Krakoan era, where it's just like he's one of the villains. Like there's no getting around the fact that he is a villain right now, and I like to see villains get their comeuppance.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. If he eventually becomes a hero again, I'll love it. But he's also been a villain longer than Beast has. I feel like he had his turn 20 plus years ago and hasn't come back yet. But
yeah,
there may be a day Xavier's a good guy again. We'll see.
Maybe we'll see. I feel like it's easier for Xavier to come back than Beast at this point.
Yeah, I feel you. I agree. They both have a lot to answer for, though.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, since we are in the web, we do have to decide if there's anything on Venom or Spider-Man to say. I know you said everything. You said you covered your Venom stuff. There was a fight where Sync literally copies Venom's powers, and I feel like that's the second time in Dark Web we've seen him, because we saw him take Miles' powers.
That's right.
I know it's always been established that he can copy any metahuman powers, but there's always something cool when it's not a mutant that you're just reminded of.
Because you kind of forget because he's always with the mutants, right?
Yeah, you're just reminded how OP he actually is, that he can literally take anyone's powers. That's awesome as shit.
He's just like, I am Venom now. What's up? Like, oh, okay.
As someone that really enjoys Al Ewing and Ron V's like overarching story in Venom, I am really tired of him being interrupted by this stupid crossover. Like, as an X-Men fan, I'm like, okay, I get to talk about it on my podcast. That's neat, but this is so pointless compared to what we were dealing with the time travel and the 9 different versions of him,
and like, it's just the thing. It's so lazy because like what it feels like to me is they were like, well, we want Venom, but we want like 90s Venom. And they're like, well, we can't have 90s Venom anymore. We don't have that. And they're like, well, what if we just like took his brain away? Can we have 90s Venom then? Yeah. Sure, if you take away his brain, you can have 90s Venom.
But you need to put his brain back at the end so we can get back to the story that we actually care about.
Yeah, it's Donny Cates, it's Al Ewing, and it's Ron V erasure, and I don't like it.
And then in the Amazing Spider-Man issue, nothing. Still nothing's happening over there. The book is literally just treading water at this point to be like, hey, this is happening over in these other books that are tying into this event that's supposed to be a Spider-Man event, but the Spider-Man book, we're not having any of the important shit happen here.
It almost feels like they got to the meeting spot too soon.
Yeah.
And now they're like, well, when's our part?
I think it's great. That's totally, they're twiddling their thumbs. But, well, it's a bi-monthly book, so they have to tread water. They have to wait.
Yeah. God.
All right. Can we leave the web for a little while?
Let's, please. Dear God, please.
All right. Let's go around the Marvel Universe a little bit.
Yes.
Did you read X-Treme X-Men number 2? Speaking of Claremont.
Yeah, technically.
Like, you read it as much as you can read a Chris Claremont comic in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I still really like that Storm outfit.
It's a great Storm outfit.
Like, that's the most thing I can say about it is, like, Storm looks like a badass no matter what era she's in.
Yeah, I mean, really, I was reading it, and I was just like, Storm looks great. And I was like, what the fuck is the rest of this?
No, all right. Did you happen to read the Timeless special this year?
I have not read the Timeless special. However, I did see the panel that you probably want to talk about.
We have to talk about the Beast panel.
We have to talk about the Beast Army.
So, Timeless is a great, like, new year. I think it's only the second year they've done, right? But anyways, it's a great yearly tradition where you have a nonsense king story that is just a framing device to hide all these like visions of here's shit you're gonna see this year, and they throw up all these panels, and one of the panels is Beast standing in front of an army of Beast clones. Does he need an army of Beast clones? He's already the worst villain in the X universe, and now there's gonna be an infinite number of them.
He literally threw it out there, though. He said X-Force would be much more useful if it was just clones of him.
Absolutely. Oh my god, I love it so much. And I really hope maybe like Percy's gonna leave and someone else is gonna get to write that army of Beast clones, because I want it to be awesome.
Yeah.
Since you didn't read it, Timeless had a few other tiny tidbits, but none of them were super X-oriented, so...
Should we talk about the rumors about Eternals 2?
We absolutely should talk about the Eternals 2 rumors, because I'm excited as shit about the possibility.
I'm excited. I'm confused.
Okay, so for those who did not hear, the rumor is Eternals 2 : Judgment Day is moving forward. And we've not got any like word from MCU people, and they use names from arcs and end up not being a similar story all the time, like Age of Ultron. So there's always a chance that this has nothing to do with AXE Judgment Day. There's been lots of internet conversations about what it means if it is.
Right.
I would love it because I think Eternals 1 is the most underrated MCU movie of them all. Like, I don't think it probably is not even in my top. It's probably in my top 10, not my top 5, if I had, like, without actually sitting down to do a list in my head. But it is also the only one in Phase 4, the only movie in Phase 4 that's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, which to me is insane and makes me think a lot of people didn't know what they were getting into when they got into Eternals. I think it's a solid movie.
It's the only one that's rotten?
It's the only Phase 4 movie that is rotten. At least I read that somewhere.
Hold.
You can fact check. You fact check.
No, it's not that I don't believe you. It's that, like, I need to see what Rotten Tomatoes has rated a certain movie.
Is it Shang-Chi?
You gotta be shitting me right now. Black Widow's a 79?
Yeah, Black Widow is. I think it's because it was the first, because it was the first of Phase 4 and it was during the pandemic. I think it got a little boost, but yeah, the only one that gets the splat is Eternals, and that makes no sense to me because I think it's a pretty solid movie. Like I said, not like I go to bat for it as a favorite, but I really enjoy it. It's probably my favorite Phase 4 movie. But regardless, whether you love the movie, you hate the movie, it's a thing I like, and a crossover, I would argue, is either the second best or the best Marvel event comic of all time.
Yeah.
So you mesh those two properties, I would love it. With one caveat, if this really is the next, in the next phase of Marvel movies, you gotta drop the Avengers and the X-Men. You gotta make it just an Eternals story. You can still have the zombie Celestial or have it be a regular Celestial, and you make it about that character work. Like, you could show these other characters being judged, but it has to be a core Eternals story if it's going to be the second Eternals movie.
Absolutely. Well, especially because, there's so much of it that you already just can't do.
Yeah.
Because of where the MCU is at. You can't have Tony building the Celestial's personality. You can't have being, all these other things just because people that are dead.
Well, and the only other option for it as an MCU thing would be to wait and have it be the next big Avengers tentpole after Secret Wars, which puts it a decade out from now, which puts it as the first big tentpole after the big multiverse one, because that Secret Wars is going to be the big all the Spider-Mans are back. We saw it in No Way Home, but you get to see it again. So it's gonna be. I think it would be hard for mainstream audiences to go from that to the character-driven nature of Judgment Day, and I think it would get an unfair rap. So I think Eternals 2 might be a perfect way to capture the spirit of the Judgment Day story without necessarily having the scale of the comic, and I think that could be okay.
Yeah. The Eros of it all is very interesting to me.
Definitely.
Just because
that's Harry Styles in the movie, so
yes, but just because they haven't done anything with him aside from a stinger, that's a lot of character work to do in one movie.
Absolutely.
A lot. So I'm excited about the idea of it, but there's a lot of ways that it could go wrong if it is adapting this storyline.
Well, it's interesting because there's stuff you have to find a way to include without, you have to have Uranus just wreck some shit, but it's not like the MCU has an equivalent of Arakko. Pick one of their fictional countries and have Uranus just wreck that, I guess, as your equivalent. But man, I think there's a lot of potential there for it to be one of the MCU greats. If they can capture the character moments we got in the comic and translate that to a movie, that could make a fantastic movie.
Very interesting. I want it to be good. Yeah. I've not been a big Marvel movie fan in Phase 4, so
yeah, like I said, the first Eternals was my favorite of the Phase 4 movies. The movies have not wowed me in the same way as some of the earlier ones did. Ragnarok might be my favorite at this point. Like I said, I don't keep a running list. I have a thing where once I hit 10,000 TikTok followers, I'm going back and I'm ranking them all, and rewatching them one by one and ranking them. But like off the top of my head, Ragnarok might be my favorite. It's up there,
It's
and
a good one.
even like Love and Thunder, to me, it's better than the critic gave it. It's like a 7 out of 10. But like,
Yeah.
so for the sequel to one of my favorites to be pretty middling, tells you where Phase 4 is. It's just not clicking on all cylinders. So yeah, I would love for them to find their footing with an Eternals 2 and be able to give us something we haven't seen yet. Because I think that's the biggest thing that's lacking is they threw everything at us through those first 3 phases, and so it's.
I know this isn't the point of our podcast, so I am sorry for derailing it slightly. I think going straight into Secret Wars and all that is a huge mistake. Going into the multiverse is a huge mistake. Really, if it were up to me, I would have done all of this a little bit differently. Not had Age of Ultron be the second Avengers movie, but have Ultron be the second Thanos level threat.
I think Kevin Feige probably really regretted burning Ultron when he did.
Yeah.
Like, I think they just, I don't think they had the full scale of what they wanted to do in mind yet. And I think they threw it to, they let Joss Whedon run with it. And it was a misstep.
Yeah.
I think the multiverse stuff, I think you could have done just Spider-Man. I feel like doing all of the multiverse stuff they're doing is, one, oversaturating it. B, instead of raising the stakes, it kind of lowers the stakes because everything feels like, well, you're just killing an alternate. You're just killing like I don't know.
Yeah.
Between Multiverse of Madness, No Way
what if
Home,
that was a variant Doctor Strange? Or what if we have a variant Tony Stark now?
Yeah. No, I definitely feel you there. I would have liked, after how big Endgame was, for a step down in scale.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's something comics have gotten a lot better at. And there's still the big like event comic churn where it feels like every year they feel like they need to put out a big event. But comic books can step back and tell a small scale story.
Yeah.
And I feel like the MCU should have taken that page from them and said, like, okay, Endgame was our peak. Let's go slow it down a little. But
yeah, I mean,
it is what it
Thanos, aliens are going to be scared of you for a while. Let's tell some smaller stories until they get bold again in the next set.
You could have built, like, I feel like that's kind of what the shows are doing to an extent, and I feel like those shows could have been the movies, but
yeah.
All right, you ready to talk next week?
Let's talk next week.
X-Men Red number 10.
Yes.
X-Force 36. Marauders number 10. We have to go back into the dark web, but only for one book this time. Gold Goblin number 3. We have a new number 1 that the number 1 will decide whether it is something that we follow or ends up in around the Marvel Universe. Scarlet Witch number 1. Obviously, as of now, she is not a mutant, but it seems like from the solicits, they might be retconning that retcon, and she might end up Magneto's kid again. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where they're going with it. They're hinting at some stuff. And then we're actually in Around the Marvel Universe going to be talking Captain America Sentinel of Liberty number 1, because it is a big Emma Frost crossover. Oh. So we'll see how much, as of the solicit and the cover, we'll see how much she actually ties in. I'm not going to say for sure it'll get an actual segment. It might just be Around the Marvel Universe, but we got an Emma heavy Captain America issue. So that'll be on the radar for the week. I think that's going to do it for us, though.
I think so.
Except we have a Discord server now.
We do.
Link is in the show notes. Link is in the show notes on the audio as well. I would love for you to come hang out with us. As of now, it's a pretty casual environment of literally just us all chatting about everything, both X-Men and not. I will be slowly turning it into a place of news about our episode rollouts. I've got some bonus episodes that are coming in the next few weeks, so news will be coming there. All that sort of stuff on there. I'm old and kind of resisted. I figured we needed to build a bigger fan base before we needed something like that. But a couple people had really been nagging me like, hey, do you have a Discord server yet? So we have one. It's there. You can check it out. It also has a sneak preview of our merch that I'm not going to push until I get my copies of the samples so that I can attest to the quality. But if you want a sneak peek, you can get to it through the Discord server. Until next week, make sure you like us, review us on all of the places, follow us, and if nothing else, tell a friend who you think might enjoy it. I am that nerdy Papa Bear on all of the social media. Keegan is Bulk Ranger. And until next time, if you're gonna draw Emma Frost, fucking do it right.